Hello Year 5, welcome to Wednesday's activity linked to our learning journey this week with the question, how have I faced the challenge of home learning? So we're on day 3. Now remember, all of the work that you're doing this week is not going to be wasted. It will really help with our conversation on Friday when we talk about how you found home learning this half term. So the more thought you give to it now, the easier the conversation will be. As I said, I'm expecting you to sort of lead that conversation. So the more things you've got to say, the easier it will become. So yesterday you will have written a reflection that you had a bit of a go at it first of all, then you looked at my example of a more detailed reflection, and then you had a go at doing that, then you edited it, and then hopefully you copied it out in neat so that when you come to look at it on Friday it'll be easier for you to read, but also it's really nice to see something written without any sort of changes in. Please make the time to do that now. So if you're suddenly going, hang on a minute, I edited it but I didn't write it up in neat, just pause the video and just go back and do that. Now before we move on to today's activity, we're going to think about the thinking column. So the question I've got to ask you is, have you completed the first 2 days' work on one page? And I'm presuming that answer is no. If you have managed to put it all onto one page, you will have space in on your page with the thinking column that you've already got there. But most people I know will have started a second page for their reflections. So you're going to need to draw your thinking column again. So draw your line and then write your title thinking column. So if you want to pause the video and make sure next to where you've written your reflections you've got a thinking column, and then press play once you've done that. Okay, so now you've got your thinking column. The question we're going to answer today is easier than yesterday's really. It is, how effective am I at editing my written work? So in your coloured pen, please could you write that question? Copy my spellings really carefully. What I'm going to do is, I think if I move forward, yeah, no, I haven't got it there. I thought I'd written it a bit bigger. So yeah, just pause the video, copy my question, and then press play once you're ready. Okay, so the word effective means basically how good are you? So when you edit your work, do you just make some really tiny changes, or do you really think about the editing that you're doing? Do you think about the person who's going to read your writing and what they might need from you? Do you think about the fact that you've got cups V to use? So I saw some work which was lovely, but I didn't see any example or didn't see any sign of somebody doing cups V. Now I modelled that really carefully to you. We do that in school. So you need to think about, how would you rate yourself as an editor of your writing? And we're going to use a score out of 10. Now I've, on the next page, got an example for you. So I would say that I'm a 7 out of 10 when it comes to editing my work, because I make more changes to my writing than I used to. So you're going to give yourself a score out of 10, and you're going to explain why you've given that score. So it might be, I would say that I'm a 4 out of 10 when I'm editing, because I know that I rush it and I need to take more time if I'm going to do it properly. Okay, so that's the first job. Don't press pause yet because I want to explain it a bit further. So that's your first job. Give yourself a score out of 10 and then say why you've given yourself that score. And then you've got to think about, what could you do to get a little bit better at editing? It's not about being a 10 out of 10, okay, unless you're obviously a 9 out of 10 already. But it's not about making a massive change. It's thinking about something small that you could do that would make you a bit of a better editor. Okay, because actually when we're learning, it's those small steps that really matter. It's not about expecting somebody to not be able to do something and then jumping straight to be able to do it. It's understanding that it takes time, and as I said, those small steps really help. So if I wanted to get this score to be an 8 out of 10, comma, because that's your subordinate clause, I think I need to get better at using a dictionary to help me check my spellings. So you're going to choose one thing that you could put an extra special effort into to increase your score by 1 point. So if you were a 5 out of 10, you'd be looking for one thing you could do differently to make it a 6 out of 10. Okay, so that is a basic answer to that question that everybody would be capable of writing. Now what I've got over here is a slightly more detailed one. Now the writing is a bit bigger, so don't panic because it's not that much writing. So it's just, again, adding that bit more detail. So if you're somebody who prides themselves on being what they think is a really good writer, if you're somebody that's got the time now to really give some thought to this, or if you just want to challenge yourself, look at this second example. So last term, we had the opportunity to practice editing a lot when we were working towards writing our myth. So I feel as though I make lots of improvements to my work. So you're just giving a bit of background information about, actually, you've spent quite a lot of time, and everybody's done this. Even if you don't feel that you're brilliant at editing, everybody has practice, because when we were doing all of our work every week for our learning journey about ancient Greece, we were always writing something to improve it, then editing it, and so on. So everybody has practiced. Therefore, I would rate myself 7 out of 10. Okay, so what I've done, instead of putting this bit at the beginning, I've given the reason as to why I'm going to give myself that score. Okay, then I'm telling you what my score is. If I want to improve that to an 8 out of 10, I think I really need to work on improving my vocabulary choices. Reading more widely would help me with this. Okay, so I've given an improved score of 8 out of 10, and then I'm telling you what I could do differently to make it better. Okay, now what I'm not expecting is for you to write this, then do cups V and edit it again. However, once you've finished it, I would read it out loud, and like I have just done, I've noticed that if I want to improve that to an 8 out of 10, I think I really need to work on improving my vocabulary choices, and I'm going to change improving to strengthening. Okay, so to make better, so strengthening. Have I spelled that right? No, I haven't. Strengthening. Okay, strengthening my vocabulary choices. So once you've finished it, read over very quickly and just make any changes that you need to. So, as I said, everybody can write something like this. If you really want to challenge yourself, then I would be aiming for something a little bit more like that. They're not too dissimilar, okay? What I mean is they're quite similar. However, this one has a bit of a more mature writing style. I've kind of reorganised it so it's not written in quite an obvious way. So as usual, you can use some of my ideas if you're completely stuck, but then you need to change it to make it fit for you. So if you think that you're a 3 out of 10, don't write you're a 7 out of 10. Okay, so if you could pause the video, and then in your writing pen or pencil, if you could answer that question, and then we'll be ready to move on. Okay, so bearing in mind that you have just given yourself a bit of a target as to what you could do to be a better editor, you need to think about that moving forward. So today's activity that, as I said, will help you prepare for our meeting on Friday is, what challenges have I faced during home learning? So today we're going to think about what's been tricky. Now, everybody is in the same boat. Some people have found it more challenging than others, but every single one of us, myself included, have really struggled with certain things when we're trying to adapt, we're trying to change the way that we work. Okay, it doesn't mean we're still facing that challenge, but it was a challenge, particularly at the beginning. So you need to start a brand new page, even, and I mean this, even if you've only just done a little bit of writing, please start a brand new page and set your page up as we did on Monday. So you need to write today's date, okay, what challenges have I faced during home learning, and then have quite a narrow thinking column on this side. We're not going to write anything in the thinking column today, we'll do that a bit tomorrow. Okay, so if you pause the video, copy my spelling, set your page up, and then press play once you're ready to move on. Okay, so now your page is set up, what we're going to do, as I said, is think about challenges. So if we go back to when we unpicked the question, we talked about a challenge being a trial or a test, something that you found difficult. So you need to just take a little bit of time now and think back, particularly to the beginning of home learning. What were the trickiest parts of it? Now, as I said before, it may be that actually it's not a problem anymore. Or I would say for most people, it still probably has continued to be something that has been quite difficult. You don't find it necessarily as difficult as you did, but it probably still is something that you need to keep working on, or you still struggle with, really. So what I'm going to do is show you what you're going to do. You are going to think about what your challenge is, okay? And I'm going to give you 2 really clear examples before you write your own, so don't panic about this. So you're going to think about, what is your challenge? What has been the impact of that challenge? That means because you've got this challenge, then it's had an impact. So it's made it more difficult. You're going to give some reasons and some things that have happened because of this problem, because of this challenge. And then you're going to think about, how have you coped with it? How have you overcome? Have you faced that challenge? Can we think back to our question? So we're going to think about the solution. So how have you got through that? And as I said, it may be still it's something that you're struggling with now, and that's okay to write that. So my example is Totnes. Lots of people seem to have rubbish internet. So that is a challenge that we have all faced. So in school, in certain rooms, though we probably spend a lot of money on internet, there's still some rooms, some spaces that the internet just drops out. And I think, as we all know, everybody's using the internet for work and for school. So the amount of people that are accessing or sort of logging on to the internet, I'm probably not using the right words there. Alex will tell me off for using the wrong words. But the amount of people that are using the internet, it's causing it to overload sometimes. So I know that when I go onto Dojo, quite often it crashes, and I think that's just because loads of people are accessing it. Okay, so it may be that you go, hang on, Mrs. PA, yep, that is a challenge that I have faced. So this could be something that you start with. So now we're going to think about the impact. Now, what I've got here are 5 things that have happened because the rubbish internet. Now I'm imagining that I'm a child now. So because I've got rubbish internet, okay, I'm sat at home, the internet is really intermittent, it kind of breaks up, you can't rely on it, everything crashes. I've lost work that I've completed. Okay, so that is super annoying. I've sat there, I've completed it, I'm ready to send it and hand it in on Dojo, and then it's just disappeared, it's crashed. I've missed live lessons, so I was all ready to start a live lesson, okay, and then suddenly the internet won't work, so I wasn't there. My work took me much longer to complete, so it may be that it kept glitching and then you had to start again, okay. I didn't get to see my friends, so thinking about not going to registers and not going to live lessons, so actually that has been an impact, okay. I got cross and frustrated. And I completely get that, okay? There's been moments where I've been at school and I've been really cross and frustrated because something hasn't been where I've saved it, or, it's glitched or whatever. So this is what's happened because, this is the impact, this is what's happened because of the rubbish internet. Okay, so when you think about your challenge, you're going to think, right, why was that a challenge? And it was for all of these reasons. This is what happened. Okay, so when you come up with your challenge, you're going to then come up with all the things that happened because of this problem, because of this challenge. All right. Now, once you've done that, you're then going to think about your solution. So this is where you're going to write just a short sort of section of writing. I don't want to say paragraph because you'll then go, oh no, it's loads of writing. But you're going to think about, how have you overcome that challenge? So all of this has happened, but actually how have we got through it? Because yes, it still may be a bit of a problem and it still may be really irritating, the internet, but actually we are coping with it better, probably, if I'm being truthful, because we've got used to it a bit more. But let's see what I've written. So my family have tried to get our internet fixed, but it's taking ages. Okay, I've realised that I can't actually change this, so it isn't my fault. So this is one of the biggest things, is lots of people get cross and they think that I'm going to blame them and it's going to be all their fault, but actually you can't suddenly magic internet to work. Okay, I make the most of the days when it's working properly, and then make sure I read and do other things that don't need the internet on the days that it isn't working. So this is kind of the strategies that you've used to cope with this problem. Now, some people's challenges may have just disappeared. Okay, and when I come up with the list I've got of suggested challenges, if you're a bit stuck, some of them actually you can just sort out really quickly. Rubbish internet isn't necessarily one of them. So I'm thinking of loads of children in the class who quite often they're glitching, or they're there 1 minute and then it's gone. So what this kind of solution suggests is that actually I've learned to cope with it. I've realised it's not my fault anymore, and I've got a strategy that if it's working, yep, I'll access everything. If it's not, there are other things that I can do. Okay, so that's how I've coped, that's how I faced that challenge. Okay, so that's one example. The next example is I struggle to work independently. So that might be a challenge that you face, that you're sat there thinking, actually, if I was in school, I could ask lots of questions, they'd be answered really quickly. But actually now I'm at home and I have to wait ages to get an answer from Mrs. PA because she never answers me fast enough. She's always busy doing other things. I don't get to see her very often. Actually, I could ask my friend on my table. So struggling to work independently is something that I think, again, lots of people have faced that challenge. So I have written my challenge down. Now I'm thinking about the impact. So what's happened because of this challenge? So at the start, I didn't complete much learning. Okay, so that was one of the impacts because I couldn't face working independently. I actually just didn't do very much at the beginning. I didn't go to the register because I thought I would be in trouble. And that is happened for some people, okay? And hopefully when you see my solution, you'll see that that isn't something that's going to happen. Okay, I didn't get to see my friends because that person wasn't going to the register, or maybe wasn't going to live lessons and things like that. They actually felt quite lonely. They were on their own. They weren't seeing their friends. They were really missing them. Another thing that happened, so that another impact from this challenge of being worried about working independently, I got cross and frustrated, very similar to the last one, and argued with my mum, who was only trying to help. So you've probably all got older brothers and sisters, grandparents, aunties, uncles, mums and dads at home who are trying to help you access your learning, but they don't know how we work at school. They're probably trying to do other things at the same time. Lots of adults are working from home, so they're trying to do their day job and be your teacher at the same time. And I know that even in my house, and we're not trying to teach George anything at the moment, but we've got a bit cross with each other because we're trying to do different things. We're working in different ways. So like I said, you've got your challenge, all right? You've got your impact, what has happened because of this challenge, and then we go back to our solution. So this is where you explain how you've coped with it. So I spoke with Mrs. PA and she has included me in more live tutorials to build up my confidence again. I also realised that I don't need to get everything right. I just need to try my best. So again, it's that idea of being able to hand in something, know that you've got bits of it wrong. Okay, that's okay. That's absolutely fine. If you were getting everything right all the time, life would be boring. Each morning, my mum helps me to write a list of activities that I need to do each day, which really helps. I now get to see my friends more regularly, which makes me feel happier. It's not as good as seeing them in person though. I still find working independently hard, but it is getting easier. So it's that idea of not saying you've overcome this challenge completely. It's all right to say you're still working on it, that it still bugs you and still irritates you, but actually you've learned to cope with it a little bit better. And actually, when I'm thinking about this is about talking to me, okay, and realising you're not in trouble, all right, with something that you find difficult, but also using your family and kind of allowing them to support you. Yes, they may not speak in the same way that I do at school. Yes, they may not understand how we do maths, okay, but they are trying to do is to help you. Okay, so it's about accepting that help and realising that all you do is try your best. Now I'm sat here reading it out loud and I've realised I've used help twice. So each morning my mum helps me to write a list of activities that I need to do each day, which really helps. What have I done there? I've taken out the wrong thing. Oh, no. I get to see my friends. Right. Oh no, look what I've done. I've deleted everything. What's happened? Everything's gone. Please don't go. I'm not going to touch anything anymore. I'm just going to try it, which is really useful. At least when you're writing this, everything just doesn't disappear like it did then. I hope that still makes sense. No, see, it's disappeared. Right, I'm not going to do anything again. You're all sat at home laughing at me now. Look, everything's gone. I don't know what I've done. Forgive me for that. Anyway, you saw it before, but I was trying to edit it and get rid of help and change it to useful. But you get the idea. That was peculiar. I don't know what's happened. Anyway, stop laughing at me and let's carry on. Right, so as I said to you, you need to think about what challenges have you faced, what's happened, this is the impact, what's happened because of them, okay? What does it look like to struggle to work independently? This is what it looks like, this is what happens, and then how have you learnt to cope with it a bit better? Now, what I would like you to do is to do what I've done. I'm going to show you this one because that bit isn't missing. To do what I've done for at least 2 challenges. I'd ideally like you to do 3, okay? Because we're not going to write reflection about this, so I'd like you to just sort of think about it a little bit more and add a bit more detail to what we're doing here. So at the very least, choose 2 challenges, all right? But if you can do 3, that would be brilliant. If you want to do more, then that would be even better. My advice to you is to actually write all this bit first. Make sure that you're leaving enough space for this column here. Then I would do your titles, okay? Because actually it may be that your challenge, you write it here and then you write impact there, but your challenge takes up that space. So I would actually write this here, fill in that bit, and then start that bit, and then go back and fill in the titles, okay? So that's my sort of top tip. So what I did then, let's ignore this ridiculous page that everything's disappeared, but anyway, ideas for challenges that you could be facing. So hopefully you have sat there and suddenly thought, yep, I know I'm going to write about this, I'm going to write about this is what I found most difficult. If you're struggling, these are some things that I thought of from talking to people, but also if I imagine I'm in your shoes, what I would struggle with. I don't have all the resources that I need at home. It would really annoy me not to have my purple pen, because I would edit with my purple pen, but it's not the end of the world. But thinking about the things that you use in school that you don't have at home. Okay, so when I say resources, I don't obviously mean I'm not going to write about the fact that I don't have a purple pen, but it's thinking about all those things that we have easy access to at school. It's all in the same place, nobody else is using it. I work better as part of a group. Okay, so that's linked to working independently, really, isn't it? I'm not very organised. That might be a challenge that you're facing. I'm having to help my younger siblings. All right, so it might be that you've got maybe your parents or grandparents are working, and you've got a younger brother or sister or more than one, and actually you're helping them to access their home learning. That could be a challenge, and I know lots of people are facing that. I felt worried and lonely. Now, hopefully you're not feeling like that anymore. You might still be. Again, I sort of put myself in your shoes, and I would be feeling okay, but I think I would really miss that contact. I really enjoy seeing Mrs. Townsend every day, and I know that if I didn't see her, I didn't see people at school, I would be feeling quite sort of lonely and probably thinking a bit too much and getting worried. Okay, so that might be a challenge, that actually COVID-19 has really worried you. So that's what's kind of been your challenge to face. I'm not very confident, so again linked maybe to not be able to work independently. I don't have my own space to work in. Okay, so again, thinking about people's houses and flats and things like that, we're not set up for everybody to have their own desk or their own room. So that might be a challenge you have to face. Or we didn't have enough devices. Now that's one I'm thinking of that hopefully we have sorted out in school. If you're still sat at home having to share things, so you can't attend a live lesson because your brother's using the Chromebook or the iPad or whatever, then please let me know, because I'll see if I can arrange to lend you one. So that would be one that would be a challenge maybe at the beginning. And then you'd have your impact would be all those things. So I wasn't able to do my learning at the beginning. I couldn't see my friends and so on. But hopefully the solution was that you spoke to me and that we've lent you a Chromebook. And then, obviously that challenge is now gone. So you can hopefully come up with your own ones. But if you're stuck, choose some of those. So as I said, I would like you to do at least 2. If I'm looking. So again, 3 would be brilliant, but at least 2. So those are your subheadings, all right? You are going to write your challenge here, and then you're going to use your coloured pen to do your arrows, okay? And you're just going to think about what happened or what is happening because of that challenge. What are the problems because of that? So not seeing your friends, not attending registers and so on. And then you've got your 1 arrow go to how have you coped with that better. So it may be that challenge is completely gone, but for most of you it's probably something you're still working on. Okay, so that is how it's going to be set up. What I'm going to do is go back to this page, not that one. I'm going to go back to this page, and I'm going to leave that there as an example to you. So that when you start, you can sort of see how to lay it out, and it gives you some ideas. Now, what I'm just thinking about is that I could be extra nice to you, and I could copy and paste this and leave it. I know you probably could just rewind the video, but I'm just trying to be super nice to make up for the fact that most of my stuff disappeared on that other page. So if I move that right up there to there, and then I could put that in there, if you just bear with me a minute. There are examples of what you could choose as a challenge, okay? So if you stop the video, or I would probably pause it so that you've got it in front of you when you start to do yours, and then please send me a photograph of what you've done. I can't wait to see sort of how you've coped with these challenges. But also I'm really interested in this part because it may be I don't know what the impact has been. I may not even know what the challenge has been. So it's really important that I do know so I can support you better. But good luck with today, and I will see you a bit later. Bye.